Here's my expert tips on maintaining your Volvo Penta IPS pod drive. Maybe you've had a few shaft drives and you're not sure about upgrading to a newer boat with pods. If that's you, make sure you watch this video to the end. In this video, I'm going to explain the different types of pod drives, how they work, and the best practices to keep them as reliable as possible. My name's Aaron, and I got into the marine industry at 15 years old. During my career as a marine mechanic and surveyor, I've inspected and worked on numerous Volvo Penta pods at a number of different dealerships. So the first thing you're going to want to know about your IPS pod is which specific model you have. Every pod will have a serial plate like this, and that'll tell you which make and model pod you have. Now, the beauty of Volvo Penta IPS is that they're very similar across each make and model. They just create bigger versions for higher horsepower engines. So being familiar with a pod is quite easy. The current models available at the moment are IPS F or 1.0, which is usually paired to a Volvo D6, IPS 1.5, which is usually paired to a Volvo D8, IPS 2.0, which you'll find behind a Volvo D11, and IPS 3.0, which you'll find the Volvo D13 engine behind. Now, you might also be wondering what the numbers mean. IPS 600, IPS 900. For example, IPS 600 is marketed to have the same horsepower as a 600 horsepower shaft drive diesel. The advantage of a pod is that you can put the propeller in the exact position that it needs to be and eliminate any requirement for shaft angle that reduces efficiency. Next, you're probably wondering how they work. A Volvo IPS stands for Independent Propulsion System. This means you're making traditional rudder and steering components completely redundant, integrating them into the pod. They're usually installed in a pair and they operate independently of each other via a computer-controlled system that links it all up to make it possible to drive a boat with a joystick. So how do you keep your pod drive reliable? Here's what my customers have done to keep their resale high and breakdowns low. Now, when it comes to maintenance, there's only 3 ways you can get water in a pod drive. The first is the prop shaft seals. The second is the lip seals, where they steer horizontally. And lastly is the oil cooler. The first thing is dial indicating the shafts every service or at least every second service. This makes sure that you don't have any damage to the prop shafts and you're not going to get water in your pod. Number 2 is replacing the prop shaft seals every 5 years or 1,200 hours as specified by Volvo in their maintenance schedule. Number 3 is keeping the battery voltage high. Keeping all the computers happy and healthy ensures that you don't have a problem with your pod drives when you least expect it. Doing things like changing the batteries every 3 to 5 years and making sure all your battery systems are in tip-top shape. Number 4 on the list is installing line cutters. It's not uncommon, you go fishing, someone throws a line over, but if that line gets to your prop shaft seals, you're in a world of hurt. So installing these little line cutters is a lifesaver. Number 5 is servicing the pods annually and being very critical of the color of the oil. If you've got any sign of water ingress, you need to figure out where that water's come in so you don't do further damage to the internals of your pod. The last 2 include servicing your cooling system regularly so you don't have any issues with the oil cooler. And last on the list is staying away from the bottom. Sure, accidents happen, and if you do hit the bottom, make sure you get the boat lifted, the propellers removed, and the shafts dial indicated to see if you've done any permanent damage. I hope this clears any concerns you have with owning a pod drive and gives you a more clear understanding of what to expect during ownership. If you've enjoyed this video, make sure you hit the like, subscribe, and share this with your friends, and I'll keep putting out videos like this to help with boat ownership.